Well, the 917 PA was really Porsche's first attempt to build a car specifically for a North American series. This car is kind of, in a way, undervalued. What really makes it special was Can-Am was the first time Porsche really decided to get into a North American series. The cars that they had brought over previously were all made for European series, and they fit into a class. They'd say, well, it fits in here, but they weren't specifically made for that class in North America. If you go through this gallery here, everything about Porsche is evolutionary, and that's the wonderful thing about the Revs Porsche collection. You can see from one model to the other, they didn't reinvent the wheel. So the body is, what they did is they took basically their 917, they took the top and windshield off, made it into a spider configuration. They put larger wheels on the rear end. The motor, the 912 motor, the 917 motor, car motor, they were building that for the European series. So because it's a sprint race, you don't refuel, they put a larger gas tank in. And lastly, but most importantly, to save weight, but also to kind of blend in what else was being built, they cut the rear off and they cut the tail of the car off to save weight, and that became a very, very crucial thing in Porsche's development. This car didn't have a very glorious history. It came over in race 5 of 11 of the series. It was 200 pounds overweight, 200 horsepower down. They took a third as its best, but they took fourth in the series. They were not on the podium. It sat in a garage with no motor in 1970, and then it was rebodied multiple times and ultimately crashed and left sitting in a warehouse. So it wasn't on a podium or on a pedestal, despite its kind of pivotal place in Porsche history. The rules sheet for Can-Am was about 3 pages, anything you could do. Porsche entered overweight and underpowered, but they were already starting to work on turbocharging the 12-cylinder motor in the late 60s. So they were already working in-house with this. They had blown their racing budget, but soon it became clear turbocharging was the way to get unlimited power. They came in at 580 horsepower and left with Mark Donohue's 917-30, which some say had 1,500 horsepower. And it was a progression thing. They ran in 69 with some success. They sat out 70. 71, they started bringing in the turbo cars, and by 73, they won every race. Race cars are tools. Today they might be objects for museums, but back then they weren't. This car actually sat behind Richie Ginther, the team manager's garage, for a year with no motor in it. So any tool is used, and they used it. This car started out in the conformation you see now, as it came from the factory. But after it sat a year, it fell into Vlasic Pollock's hands, and they ran 2 different bodies on it with the naturally aspirated motor. When the turbo cars came out, another body structurally changed it, put the turbo motor in. So it had many different bodies and ended up at a 917-10 conformation. It was ultimately crashed and then kind of put away until Revs acquired it to get it to its final conformation we see today, which was pretty much its original factory correct way. Can-Am was probably American racing at its best. There's no rules. It started in 66 and it ran till 74, and it was very, very successful. Big purses, big sponsorships, big crowds. But like anything else, it ran its course because as the oil crisis hit, as Detroit moved away from muscle cars and things like that, the viewership, the advertising value of that series dropped. And then of course the fact that a European company like Porsche came in and won every race for the last 2 years didn't help either.